Thank you for tuning in to another edition of the Business of Fun podcast. I'm your host, Dave Wakeman. Today's episode is brought to you by my friends at Booking Protect, the global leaders in refund protection. Any listing, any sector, anywhere, Booking Protect has you covered with the world's most comprehensive refund protection product. To find out how you and your organization can partner with Booking Protect to deliver world-class customer service, a better buying experience, and how you can create a new stream of revenue for you and your organization, visit them at www.bookingprotect.com. Once again, that's www.bookingprotect.com. Are you going to be at the Ticketing Professionals Conference in Sydney, Australia on the 14th and 15th of November? Why not? I'm going to be there with Booking Protect CEO Simon Mabb. Simon's going to be talking about customer service, and I will be delivering the opening keynote address about change. To get your tickets to Ticketing Professionals Conference Australia, visit them at www.ticketingprofessionals.com.au. Once again, it's www.ticketingprofessionals.com.au. As an added bonus, if you buy your tickets today, I'm dropping this podcast on September 3rd, 2019. If you get your tickets before the 10th of September, send me an email at my name, dave@davewakeman.com, and I will give you some special offer. I don't know. It could be a coaching call. It could be a document review. It could be a review of your marketing plan. It could be a coaching session. I don't know what it'll be, but as an extra benefit, an added inducement to get your tickets to the Ticketing Professionals Conference in Australia, send me an email with your receipt, and I will hook you and your team up. The more people that are in your team going to the conference, the better. So get your tickets today at www.ticketingprofessionals.com.au. My guest today is Simon Mabb, CEO of Booking Protect. I have been plugging this podcast for weeks because Simon and I are going to Sydney, Australia to help kick off the first Ticketing Professionals Australia conference hosted by Joe Michelle and Angela Higgins. And so we wanted to collect some of your questions and answer them in an AMA type format. So Simon and I got about a dozen questions, and we covered a lot of ground. We talked about obviously tickets, we talked about experience, we talked about customer service, we talked about the power of anticipation, we talked about some of the really unique experiences all over the world, we talked about pricing, we talked about the way you make people feel, we talked about some really great examples of empathy, and we talked about Harrods, we talked about chef's tables, we talked about just a whole lot of stuff. I think it's a really great way for you to learn about me and Simon if you've never heard of us before. If you're coming to the Ticketing Professionals Conference in Sydney, Australia, which I hope you will, it's a great way to learn what you'll hear some stuff from me and Simon that you'll be able to hear and learn more about when you're at the conference. It's a lot of fun just because I love Simon. And we talk about, I should not fail to mention, Tottenham Hotspur. The match ended 2-2, not the greatest. But without any more from me, here's my conversation with Simon Mabb on the Business of Fun podcast. I want to welcome my good friend Simon Mabb from Booking Protect to the Business of Fun podcast. Simon, what's happening?
Hi, Dave. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. I'll be even better if on Sunday the Spurs win the derby. I will be much better.
Well, likewise. I've just been having a small bet with someone in the office who's an Arsenal fan, so fingers crossed we do it.
You let the Arsenal fans keep their jobs, is what you say. I knew you were a nice guy.
You have to, don't you? You have to.
Yeah, I guess he couldn't cut them all out, right? I mean, they do have some useful skills. They are, I guess used to laboring under adverse conditions. I mean, they are Arsenal fans after all.
Exactly. Yeah, it's good. It's good to be a Spurs fan at the moment.
Yes, very good. I mean, it's an awesome time to be a Spurs fan. I'm a huge fan, and it's all because of you and David Lyman, I have to say. Now, the podcast today is a little different, right? Because as I'm sure that anybody has listened to this thing knows, you and I are going to Australia in a couple weeks now, not very long at all now. And I have been soliciting questions from people about, that they wanted us to, either from Australia or around the world, about things they would like to learn more about or find out about or interested in hearing from us about. So I have, it looks like about 12. A dozen of them that we work through. They come from all over the world, which is really, really fun. And hopefully it'll give us a chance to like plug what we're going to do in Australia, which if you want to connect with us, make sure you send us emails because I think we're going to do some sort of get together on Wednesday before the 13th of November, before the conference on the 14th and 15th. And both Simon and I are speaking at the conference. So it's going to be like a lot of fun. It's going to be great. We hope that this podcast is a nice introduction to people. Simon, do you have anything to add to that, or did I like plug us both pretty well?
No, I think that's a good plug, Dave. No, we'd certainly be interested in seeing some people when we're over in Australia.
Yeah, we'll plug away. We got plenty of time to plug here. So the first question, though, comes to us from the USA. A guy called Tim has sent me an email, and he asked the question, how can organizations sell more when people are already on site and upsell during the sales process? I know I'm going to turn over the upselling part during the sales process to you because I know you have some strong opinions on that.
Yeah, no, I think upselling is all about offering your customer value, not just trying to appear to sell them something else on the site. So making it very relevant. I suppose an example of this is the way that we would sell our refund protection product to ticket buyers. Obviously, if the customer's buying a product or a ticket many months out, it's going to be far more relevant to them than someone who's buying a ticket literally for tonight or the day before. As customers are looking, for experiences to be enhanced, I think customers are now buying things a lot further out, and obviously things happen in between. People get ill, things happen with jobs. Things come up that mean they can't attend that event. So, those sort of things are relevant. But obviously, if you're just going to buy a ticket for tonight, it's probably the chance of you not being able to attend are probably very, very slim. So showing that offer at that point probably is not going to be so relevant to that customer. Yeah,
it's interesting you brought up the idea that on-sale dates are coming up earlier and earlier in the process. And that that's something I highlight kind of constantly, right? But the bigger point is because the on-sale dates are happening earlier and earlier, people are planning the holistic experience like you mentioned. And I think that maybe a really great opportunity that people can take advantage of is thinking through how you can make an event that somebody is going to attend in 6, 8, 12 months time and even add to it. I think we bounced that back and forth, like something like VIP access, right? Or you even brought up some examples from like your trip to see the Spurs in the Champions League last year.
Yeah, I think the first priority that you have when you're buying your ticket is that you just want your ticket and you want to secure your place to that event. And then I think probably as the time builds, you then decide, on different things to add to that experience. Almost like it's potentially almost like a second buying opportunity. So offering people additional upgrades sort of further down the line once they've got their ticket, I think a real opportunity to maximise the pound or the dollar or the cents, whatever you're trying to get out of these people. They're more likely to probably repurchase an upgrade of something if they're offered it slightly further down the line than they are maybe to put it on the initial cost at the beginning.
Right, and that's a good point because that's like a consumer psychology point, which is that once you've spent the money, it's over, right? The next purchase that you would make, let's say if we waited 6 weeks, and then I said, oh yeah, your event's in 6 months' time, but we want to just engage you and offer you an upgrade. Right? You're more likely than you would be to say no, to consider it because you've already spent the $50 or £50 on the ticket. So another £10, it seems like a separate transaction. And you go, what's £10? It's no big deal. It's great.
Exactly. It's exactly what the airlines do, particularly in Europe, selling you upgraded seats or more legroom or meals, luggage, etc. Often isn't necessarily sold at the beginning. It's often sold when you go to check in or all those sorts of things, or they give you other options, maybe travel insurance, car hire, etc.
Yeah, and I think those examples are great because the thing is it also allows you to build anticipation and grow the relationship you have with the customer, which is you can do also sell more when they get on site, right? Because maybe you offer the day before an opportunity to purchase your first drink if you're going to a game or a show, right? And then so all of a sudden now you had one drink, you're like, well, I might as well have another one because I was only planning on having one, but since I could just give my ticket or like scan my thing and the drink came right to me, I may as well have another one. To me, all of these are just opportunities to grow and upsell during the sales process, and I find that the sales process never really ends.
No, I'd agree. And then you've probably got a second or a third bite of the cherry when they turn up at the venue.
Yeah, I think that if you do it well, the sales process looks like a wave, and it goes up, it crests, it goes down, then it comes back up, and it's just like a rolling wave, like, whatever those like cartoons you'd see of waves. That's to me what the sales process looks like.
Yeah, totally agree with that.
Yeah. So all of this conversation we've had leads to the second question I have, which comes from Francis in Australia. And it's an interesting one because we kind of have touched on it. And I know we probably talked about it a lot before we even got on the podcast. So hopefully we didn't leave the good stuff on the cutting room floor. But it says, what can promoters do to increase the value of the live event? And for me, this reaches home because I spend a lot of time, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put myself on the spot and say it's ranting about the fact that like these live events are unique. They're one of a kind. It doesn't matter if you're going to see who would be the worst Premier League team this year so far. You probably say maybe, I don't want to say Newcastle because that would hurt too much. Maybe Aston Villa, right? And you see Aston Villa versus Spurs, but it would be the only time that was going to happen. Ever with those group of players on the pitch, those group of people in the stands, you never know exactly what's going to happen, and that has to be highlighted, right? It's in the States we're especially bad about saying like in the middle of the baseball season it's the dog days of summer, and undercutting the value of a regular season baseball game. So I think to me, the first thing is you got to stop undercutting the value of the live experience by saying, oh, it's just the dog days of summer. Oh, it's a grind. It's whatever. No, it's a unique experience. It's the only time you're ever going to have to enjoy this, right? And you have to sell that because there can't be a much truer statement than every time you go to a game, you don't know what's going to happen. You could see something that's entirely different that may never happen again. And that's what you're buying into. But, I'm curious to hear what you said. What have to say?
You're buying into the experience, aren't you? The sort of result is secondary, isn't it?
It should be. At least I think, right? I mean, sure, there's like tons of awful teams, right? And you know that the result, the product on the field is not going to be the greatest and that the result might not go your way. But even them, they do have redeeming qualities.
I mean, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know for sure why that is such a hard thing for people to understand. But, you brought up an example when we were talking back and forth about you use Disney. And I think our friend Kat, she talked about going to Disney recently with her son and her husband, and how like exciting it was for him to have the opportunity to see Captain America because he really loves Captain America. And I think those things are all those are really relevant things. And you've talked to me now at least 2 times about getting a beer at Spur Stadium, which if people haven't had a chance to see it, tell them, could you share your beer buying experience with everybody?
Yeah. I think it's the fastest flowing beer anywhere in the world, and it flows from the bottom. So there's a hole in the bottom of the glass, and the glass is filled from the bottom upwards, so that you don't have the gas and the sort of white head on the beer. But to see it in action, and it's worth anyone out there just Googling, Spurs Football Club beers pouring, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of videos on YouTube, etc., which will show this. But it's just amazing to watch that, and see, how that works. And, again, that's all part of the experience. I've been lucky enough to go to the Spurs, the new stadium, once already, and I think that's probably, one of the best experiences I've had. And it was an awful football game, but I don't really remember the football game. I remember the crowd was amazing. The club had put flags out for everybody to wave. There was stuff on before the game. The halftime was fantastic. The whole experience was just amazing, from literally entering the event to leaving at the end. It was a pleasure, and let's say the result was pretty much, disappointing but secondary.
Yeah, I would agree. The return leg was much better.
yeah. Sadly, I didn't have a ticket for that.
But it brings up something too, because you talked about pricing, and the third question we had, it comes from Australia, and it's an anonymous question, so I can't offer up who sent it because I don't know. But what's your take on pricing, and how does it impact lifetime customer value? And I know this is something we talk about pretty regularly.
Yeah, I think clearly there's a balance between, pricing something so that you get enough people through the door, and actually opening that up to, a wide audience. So obviously you need to fill your bums on seats. And I think that's probably, when we go back to the first question, that sales wave that you talked about, Dave, I think probably an absolute classic in this thing is you want people to be there, and then you want the ability to upsell them other stuff.
Right.
Along the way. And, we mentioned Disney. Again, that's a classic example of that. You buy, your entry, and then you've got fast passes you can buy, or you can buy photo packages to capture the whole moment. Well, if you're going to go all that way and spend all that money with your child or children, you're going to want to photograph it and remember all those memories. You want to have all that stuff built into an app and be able to see live photos that are being taken on the day and get those downloaded into a special pack. And a memory maker, I think they call it, is an opportunity to enhance that value and get some more, money out and increase your overall take per head.
Yeah, I think anybody who's listened to the podcast or seen me speak or read my blog or read any of the articles I've written probably know what my philosophy on pricing is, which is that I want to encourage people to get into my building any way I can, because I know that if I get people inside the door, that I can create experiences like you're talking about with the memory maker that people will happily pay for. They will thank me for giving them to them, and I will make more money. And that seems sometimes to be lost on people, right? It's like you might get a couple people to buy in at the maximum price point you can get for a ticket, right? In this case, but how much are you detracting from the experience if a stadium or an arena or a building is only 2/3 full or half full? You're missing a lot. And I know the conversation a lot of times is like they want to maximize the revenue from the ticket. Sure. But the lifetime customer value or the customer cap per event, take it all into consideration, because maybe you can get 20 pounds more for a ticket. But how much better? Number one, how much better would the experience be for the customer, and how much more money would you make if instead you left $20 on the table for the ticket, but then you had a couple of really cool merchandise items that people wanted that were, not like a 40-pound T-shirt or a, $35 T-shirt in the States or a $17 beer. And you got, somebody was able to spend another $50 or 50 pounds, whatever, wherever you're at, get a T-shirt, maybe get a poster, get something to eat and a drink. How much better, and the building was full. How much better would that be for everybody? I think it would be a lot better. And that was sort of like, I learned that from starting out in nightclubs.
Yeah. I think customers want to feel, no one likes to feel they've been ripped off.
Right.
People like to feel like they've had value, and people will spend more money on something if they perceive there's some value in that. I was talking to some of my guys the other day, and we were talking about buying fuel, petrol, gasoline whatever, and saying that's just, we would drive along and we'd say, we know that garage has the cheapest price, so we'll go to that garage, because we're not bothered about, it's just gasoline, it's just fuel, it's just going in the car. We're not really bothered about it. So that's just a transactional sell. Whoever's the cheapest will go and buy that. Where if you're providing a customer service, something, whether it be a restaurant, whether it be a venue, an event, or whatever, you're thinking differently, because you're not looking for the cheapest. You're looking for good value for your hard-earned money.
Right.
At the end of the day.
Yeah, you want.
So it's a different type of sale.
Yeah, you want something that you want to feel special, right? I mean, because some work can be hard, life can be hard. You could be going through troubles or whatever. So when you go out to something like an event or a concert, a game, dinner, whatever it is, you want to feel a little bit special. You want to feel, taken care of, I think is what is the term I would want to use.
Yeah.
And people will pay for that.
Yeah, they will. But I think we'll probably talk about this later on. It's very much down to your people in the venue to make a real difference. So, if you turn up at a venue and it's the best venue in the world and it looks like an amazing place and whatever, but all the staff are miserable and no one will help you, or no one cares, or they just don't, they spill beer all over you and don't say sorry, and it's just everything's too much trouble, that completely destroys that experience. And then you feel like you've had a bad experience, and you probably feel like you've been ripped off.
Yeah, and if you have one experience like that, that can ruin everything. That you might never get you might never get a second chance to fix that, or you may never be able to fix it, even if you do get a second chance, because that first experience is always going to flavor people's opinion of you. It just that's how it works. But I mean, we can go on about this customer service stuff and how valuable it is all day long. And like you said, I think there's a couple more questions about that. But I got the next question from two people. One from Ian in the UK, and then the other one, the second time it came through was from a guy called Chris in the US. And it says, what are our top tips for maintaining customer relationships, especially in the case of single ticket buyers? And then they go on to say what, where, when, or what, where, why, and when. I'll start by saying, top tips for maintaining customer relationships. The most simple thing is to have, at least in the most rough way possible, a customer journey mapped out for the people, right? How do you want the experience of them to happen before they buy a ticket? What do you want that to look like? What do you want the experience to look like when they're at your event, your concert, your game? And then, think out the steps you're going to take afterwards to thank them for coming, check on, see how their experience was, and offer them something valuable to do again, right? That is the most basic starting point is just to think through the journey. But I'm curious what you have to say on the subject.
Yeah, I think very much from that very beginning that making it as easy as possible is probably where my head's at. I think a classic example of that, and it's not in the entertainment space, but it's in sort of consumer area, is Amazon. There'd be a classic example of a really, really easy process. So Amazon are probably not the cheapest for everything, but no matter what you want, pretty much, you can get it delivered the following day, and the buying process is so simple. I use the app, and probably within 2 or 3 clicks on my phone, all my bank information's in there, everything's there, and I literally just click the button, and it turns up when they say it will turn up. Very, very simple process, and very, very easy to use. Another example of that would be, when I'm buying something, how we then deal with the payment element of it. And I think, nowadays, using things like Apple Pay and PayPal are absolutely brilliant, because I get really frustrated now if I'm buying something, because I'm often buying it on my phone, my smartphone, and I'm putting in my details, and then I get to that point, and I probably maybe have my wallet with me, or maybe I'm sat on the sofa at home watching the telly, and the wallet's somewhere else, and then you have to suddenly think, I need to get up and get my credit card out so I can put it on the thing. Whereas it's just got PayPal or Apple Pay, all my card information's there, 2 or 3 clicks, and it's paid for, done. I can continue whatever I'm doing, watching the TV or doing something totally different without even having to get my wallet out, get my credit cards out, try and read the card number, get the security numbers, etc. So I think that maintaining a really, really simple sales process from a point of view of purchasing, making it click, 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 all the way through, very, very simple, without the individual having to break off to do something else, i.e. go to their wallet, etc. It would be absolutely clear. And then obviously all the other steps you mentioned then about experience at the venue and the follow-up experience, I think are absolutely critical.
Yeah, no, the way you explain it about making sure that the buying experience is simple is probably like a really key point, because I think that what happens a lot of times is that we get in such a rush to capture all of this data from people, is that we forget that the most important thing we can do is make sure that the person buys from us to start with.
Yeah.
Because if they buy, then if we're doing a good job of being strategists and marketers, we can create all these different touch points throughout the course of the relationship that they'll tell us exactly who they are. They'll tell us what they're interested in. They'll tell us their likes and their desires. They'll develop a history with our business that we can use to create better experiences for the people, to offer them a better value, to make the experience better for them. But it all begins with get out of the way and let people buy. I think that's like the big key is get out of the way and let somebody buy, and then go from there.
People like simplicity, and the more complicated something is, the less likely someone's gonna get to the end of the process. Whether that's another classic example of that would be customer reviews. Within our business, we ask our customers to leave customer reviews. When we initially started, the customer had to log on, set an account up with the review company, and then leave the review, etc. And a lot of people would just abandon that. They're happy to leave your review, but if it's too difficult, they've got lives to be getting on with. Where now we've got a very simple process where they literally just click a yes, they're happy to leave a review, and it pulls all the data that they've already given us in terms of their name from our system, so we know who they are without them having to sign on, log on, repeat all the information. It's very, very easy for them to deal with that process, and consequently we get hundreds and thousands more reviews.
And let's pimp Booking Protect a little bit here, but how much of an impact has that had on the business too? The fact that there is word of mouth and there is social validation. I mean, it's helped the business grow tremendously.
Yeah, when you've got, when your competitors have, maybe 150 reviews and you've got 2,500-3,000 reviews, all telling positive things. Your competitors got some that are pretty average. It does. It's that social proof. It's absolutely huge. A really big part of our sort of buyer confidence, both from our venues and from our end customers.
Yeah, no, and I would say that if we did a case study on Booking Protect, it would be a really grade A example of the power of social proof and word of mouth. Because besides offering world-class customer service, it's really just the power of every time you talk to somebody about Booking Protect, they go, it's changed my life. I don't have to worry about customer service complaints anymore around tickets in almost every case. Or everybody sees the reviews and they go, I was concerned, but then I saw these reviews and it was great. I'm signing up. I mean, it's really a powerful statement about how powerful having other people say, "Hey, this is a great service," is for a business.
Yeah, and I think nowadays, you look at venues or anywhere you're going, the first thing you see, the first thing you look at, or a lot of people do now, is to go and find out about that venue or that operator. Who are these people that I'm dealing with, or who is this venue? What are other people saying? People put, you're looking at a hotel. People are looking at tips of, what people say the best rooms are to get, or where's the best place to have dinner in that complex, or whatever. There's lots and lots of different things that are on the go, and I think review sites in general are here to stay and are going to play an even bigger an even bigger case in how consumers buy. I think particularly millennials and younger buyers. I think that's all they've grown up with, and that's their word of mouth.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Now, this next question sort of ties into all of this too, because it comes from someone in the USA who asked to remain anonymous. But it's why is it important to allow consumers more choice and selection? Isn't it enough to just create an event and curate it? And I think you just highlighted a whole bunch of reasons why giving consumers choice is important. And I think that probably when you talk about creating an event and curating it, it's that even though you created the event and curated it, I still think that people want to have a sense of control over the purchase process. And I think that, buying an experience or making a plan for something is still something that people are not 100% reluctant, but maybe a little reluctant to give up complete freedom over. Just because there's so many variables and so many things involved that they want to feel like they are creating the best experience possible for themselves. Knowing that this is kind of like one of the core value propositions of what we talk about with Booking Protect all the time, of giving people a little bit more flexibility and peace of mind and protection in their purchases. What do you think about giving people more choice and selection?
I think it's a must. I think if you don't, I think as a business, you probably haven't got long for this world unless you have an absolutely fabulous product that is just, regardless of how you market it, people will buy it. And I don't think there's many out there like that. I think, you used to go to maybe a travel agent to book your holiday. A classic would be, now people book trips. You go online, you decide, you want to fly from here to here, or you want to get a train from here to here. You the journey, and then you decide, right, well, we're going to eat at this restaurant, we're going to stay in this hotel, and people will put all that stuff together. And with the internet now, it's so easy to do all of that planning, and people will spend ages looking and saying, oh, right, there's a great restaurant near that venue, so actually we're going to go to the game and we're going to go to that restaurant because I've not been to that restaurant, so that'd be a great addition to that. Or we really want to go to the on-site restaurant, but actually we don't want to go for a burger, we want to go for a sit-down meal, and people will then put almost build their own experience through that. So I think having that choice is really, really important, and having the ability for the customer to select how they want their experience to be is absolutely key. So it is more than just putting on the event and curating it. It's a lot wider than that. It's allowing the customer that choice.
Well, as you were answering the question, it brought to mind something to me, and I'm curious to hear your reaction to this. But what you were describing seems to be an opportunity for the person selling the experience, or the person that's providing the experience, curating it, whatever word you want to use, to build anticipation in the customer. And from my point of view, what sounds interesting as you're talking through this is it seems to me like it allows people to live the experience more than once in a positive way. So giving people these opportunities to engage like this is a really powerful opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, you see now, some of the people that are going to festivals, for example, or going to events. They're almost like setting up groups, sort of like a Facebook group, and people will join that Facebook group, and there'll be lots of people commenting even before the event happened. I'm looking forward to this. Does anybody know about this? What's the dress code? Where can I go? Lots of questions and lots of stuff going on, and people are doing that in a community for that event, with people that they've never met before, but they're all interacting in that sort of social environment. And so, if you don't give them the choice, they'll kill you on those environments, because those messages will just go out. I had this poor experience because they won't allow me to do this, or I can't get this, or whatever it is. But conversely, it's an absolutely fantastic opportunity to upsell and have people who, everybody wants something extra, so give them extra experience or whatever. Everyone likes to feel special. Everyone likes to feel like they're a VIP. Everyone wants to go in that through that door that's marked VIP or private, or wants to be drinking those drinks in that area that's fenced off or whatever. That's aspirational. That's what people want to do. That's what drives people. So give them those opportunities. I mean, classic example would be, 10 to 15 years ago, you went to a very nice restaurant, and you'd sit in the restaurant and they would serve your food and you'd be very happy, and they tell you about the wine and off you go. And now restaurants are totally different. These top restaurants, you can now pay to sit in the kitchen and eat your food at the chef's table, and now that's the best table in the place. Yet, 10, 15 years ago, if you said, "Oh, I've got a seat in the kitchen," you'd think someone was winding you up. Now people are paying an absolute fortune to sit amongst the staff in the kitchen working and whatever, because it's about the experience. People who like their food want to see how it's cooked. They want to see it being made. They want to ask the chefs that are putting it together, because they maybe want to try making it at home when they get home or whatever. They want more than just sitting in a nice restaurant, eating some fantastic food and drinking some fantastic wine. They want more of an experience. Right. There's still people that want to sit upstairs and sit amongst, with everybody else and listen to the nice ambient music, etc., and whatever, romantic dinner for two. But there are people who want to sit with the chefs and the foodies who want to see what's what.
Yeah, I think it highlights this concept that I talk about a lot, which is that you are not your market. Because we were talking about the chef's table previously, and I said, I started out early on in nightclubs and bars and restaurants when I was like 18, 19 years old, even probably younger than that. And there was nothing at all glamorous about the back of the house. So for me to sit in the chef's table is completely crazy. But then when you illustrate the point as such, I see the value in it from somebody else's point of view. And that's a really key important point to make as we offer these, experiences, these services, these items. They're not necessarily going to be valuable to us, but that doesn't mean they're not valuable to other people.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
Now, then that leads us to a question coming to us from the USA, number one, right? From a guy called David. It's like, what is your approach to the topic of customer service? Both of you seem to have a customer first approach. What guides that, and how did you develop this philosophy, and why is it important? I'm going to turn this over to you first, because you are probably the most customer service driven person that I know. And I mean that in the best possible way. I learn stuff from you all the time. So I want you to teach me some more stuff. So.
Oh, thanks. I think it's just really, really simple, which is think of the best, and this is what I tell my team, think of the best customer experience that you've had personally as a consumer. and then think about how it's made you, think back to how it made you feel. And at the end of the day, customer experience is all about how it makes the individual feel. And then you remember those feelings, and most likely it came from some personal connection with the individuals involved. So, as I mentioned to you before about, you can have the best venue in the world, but if your staff are miserable and and they're not happy to come to work, and they're not happy to do a fantastic job for your customers and really go the extra mile and make their, every time they come into that venue, make it feel special for them, then you can have a major problem. And that doesn't matter what business you're in, whether that's in restaurants, whether that's in dealing with customers over the internet, over the telephone, or having people through a live venue. You have to make sure that your staff are personally connected with that. And I think a key part of that is your staff have to have the ability to go the extra mile. So they need to have some sort of decision-making powers of some sort with regard to customer service. So they have to be sort of champions of that world. Everybody in my organisation is paid to make a decision, and that decision relates around a customer outcome of some sort. So if there's a fear culture that, say, I don't know, someone does something really good for a customer, if they can justify that they've done that for the right reasons, then that's fine. That's great. And I think you need to promote customers doing, or your staff doing, great things for customers. And that doesn't mean you've got to, give away hundreds of pounds or thousands of dollars or whatever to do that. It's about them just going the extra mile. And sometimes it's just as simple as a thank you, a smile, an actual someone caring and being really interested in what's happening.
Yeah, this freedom to make a decision thing, I think, is tough for a lot of people. And I'm curious, how did you build the confidence in yourself to allow that to happen? Because I know that isn't common.
Yeah, I think it's about putting yourself in the customer's shoes, and thinking, just think about that. And yeah, we put some parameters on that when we started it, because it's a bit of a step into the unknown, because suddenly, what if they say they can do this and, it costs me a load of money or whatever. So we put some processes into place so we understood what they were doing. But we just recorded that and we just reviewed those, and we reviewed the decisions that were being made, and we gave them some parameters in terms of what they could do monetary wise. And then we reviewed those decisions, and if those decisions were perhaps something that we perhaps wouldn't necessarily have done, then we talk about that and why we would have done them or not done them. And then everybody builds a confidence of knowing where the barriers are, what we think is acceptable, not acceptable, and they've still got the opportunity to flag something at a point if they think it still warrants something. So I think it's just, you have to take a little bit of a leap, but you control that process to start with until everybody gets a grip of it. But if you've got the right people, they will make the right decisions. And again, I think it's spelling out to them to think about that experience in their own minds. And if they thought it was what they should be doing for them, if it was their own business and themselves, then they're probably better justify it to you.
Yeah, I would point to 3 things to add to this. So the one thing, that word that we haven't used yet, but it came up on the last podcast before this one with Rob Mills from the Gimba Group, was empathy, right? And I think that the one thing that I know and I can safely say about you is that you lead from a point of having empathy for your team and for the people that you're working with and working for. And I think that's very powerful as a business principle. The second thing, as an example to show why that's important and how that can have a really powerful impact, positive in a positive way on you, the business, and the community of people you serve is during the Beast from the East storm, which was February of 2018, is that right, or somewhere right around there, where you proactively started refunding people because you knew it was going to be like it was going to shut down the rail lines. You did all kinds of things, and that's unusual because most of the time, most people, when they offer refund protection, they wait until after the event to make sure that your event went on, so you should have been able to make it. And you went ahead and did that, and that had got some positive coverage, some positive press. It was like a real strong selling point. But most importantly, it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And the third example is something that happened to me recently, right? And I hesitate to share the story only because I don't want to seem like complete snob and look at me, how awesome I am. But so I was on vacation with my wife while my son was away at camp in Miami at the Four Seasons Surf Club. And I only bring that up because it's just like illustrative of the point you brought up, because the people were so generous in spirit, and they went so above and beyond to make the experience successful and exciting and fun for my wife and I. But the point I want to bring out is because they were so generous to us, we were in turn generous in spirit to them as well, and really engaged and learned about the people, and it was so exciting. But at the end, this is what blew me away. As we were leaving on Friday to go back to the airport to come home back to DC, a couple of the guys walked up and they hugged me because they were it was such a great having you there, and it didn't feel like this is awkward. It was it was the most natural thing, and great customer service can make you feel like you have a friend in whatever you're doing, and it's a really, really powerful thing. And I sent the CMO of Four Seasons a letter because I know him, and I sent the general manager a letter because I was just so taken away because it was such a it just sort of captured what great customer service can do in such a concrete way for me.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think we often so focus on the negative, using social media outlets to focus on the negative. But it's important that that great customer service is highlighted and people are rewarded for it. And no, I totally agree. I'm also going to be very sort of bragging here and say I was in London last week, and I went to Harrods, which if you don't know Harrods, it's I think they call themselves the world's best department store. I would imagine that there's probably some American stores that would have some things there, but it is the high end of high end stores, and it's an absolutely incredible store. And on the ground floor was all the jewelry section, and I was in there with my other half and my daughter, and we were walking round, and my other half was looking at some of the very expensive rings, and one of the rings took my fancy in the De Beers store, which was there, and I saw a 10.6 carat diamond ring in a case, and this thing's huge. I mean, I've never seen a rock like it. This was amazing. And the guy, and there's no way in this world that I could ever afford that. The guy came up to me and he said, and so I was asking him about it, saying how amazing. Do you want to try it? Let me get it out. So I'm like, oh, you're okay. Yeah, I'm not going to buy it. Anyway, I looked at the price tag, and it was £1.8 million. And he said, that's all right, try it on. So I'm trying this £1.8 million ring on, which then he lets my 9-year-old daughter try on, and she's absolutely over the moon. And my other half, who was then very worried then because I thought I was going to have to buy it. But he just, no problems at all. He knew I wasn't going to be able to buy a £1.8 million ring, but he got it out and showed it, and then he showed us some other stuff in the store, and I went in that store thinking, oh, this just isn't a bit. This will be the sheikhs from Dubai and places like that will be coming here to do their shopping. Why does he want to talk to me? And, but it was an amazing experience. We didn't buy anything, but you know what? If I'm going to buy something, that'll be the first place I'll be going back to, because they were just absolutely amazing. And, often you imagine those sort of places to be quite snobbish and people to turn their nose up and sort of look at you and say, yeah, I don't think you can afford that. Let's just move on, sir. But it wasn't like that at all. And I really like that. And I think that's the sort of experience that you want, is that people are treated, very, very well. And, you've talked about your experience in the hotel. I've been telling lots of people about my experience in De Beers in Harrods. And, that's great marketing, isn't it?
Well, customer service is the best form of marketing to me.
Yes. Yeah.
Because they've bought your daughter's loyalty for her entire life. For what? For absolutely nothing, because the guy was going to be there anyway. Yeah, so what did it cost him to be nice to you and your partner and your little girl? Mm-hmm. Absolutely nothing. What did it do? How much brand value, how much reputational value have they received from you telling the story in how many different places? Exactly.
And when I've got 1.8 million,
I'm going to go get the ring.
I'm going back there.
That's exactly right. And great customer service, it doesn't really cost you anything. It creates revenue for you. If I can only teach somebody one thing, that would be it. It's like it's a profit center.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. And there will be someone in your organisation that's working, doing something with customers, whether that's an usher, a security guard, something, who is probably one of your best advocates for customer service, and you probably don't know it.
That's right. Absolutely right. That's exactly right.
So go and find out who that person is and make sure that everybody else knows that what they do is exactly how you want everybody else to work. And that person will have, they'll be amazed and blown away because they've been recognised, because they'll think you probably don't even know who they are.
That's right.
And everybody else around them will say, wow, yeah, we want to do stuff like he does or she does.
That's right. And that goes back to incentives, right? You want to incentivize the behavior that you want to have happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I've got one more question for us today. And what it is it's like a combination of a couple of things. There was a theme that went through a bunch of the other questions, which is, and one of them is like things we've already covered, which is going to be a lot about experience, but it's kind of ties up experiences, revenue, everything together. And I'm going to mash it all together and try to make something coherent out of this. But it's like, in a world where we are overwhelmed with choice, how do we break through all of this noise and clutter to make sure that people pay attention to us? Simon?
I think you need people to be talking about you, don't you? Yeah. People are very busy. People have lots of things. You need people are advocates, aren't they? Someone who's been tells 10 people, who then 5 of those people go to your event, they tell 10 people, and suddenly you've got a massive sort of movement of people that are interested in going to your venue. If you ever speak to anyone who's been to Disney, for example, there's probably people who didn't go because of because of advertising. They've not seen it in a magazine and thought, I want to go. They've gone because someone's come back from their vacation, their holiday, and has said, wow, I've had the best experience of my life. That's what's been great over the last 2 weeks or whatever. And then someone goes and says, wow, so-and-so that I work with said this is absolutely amazing. We need to do that as well. And I think that's how you start building that, is getting the people that you have got coming through the door of your venue or whatever, to make sure that they're talking about you everywhere, and you build that anticipation. And then once you get those people, you just keep, using them as advocates to keep the thing going. And the best venues then are barely advertising.
I think that's the point about thinking that you're going to win people over and break through based on advertising is, that's wrong. And the way you highlight is absolutely correct. You can't out yell everybody, because the average person's getting inundated with 5,000 or more messages and calls for attention a day. And so, like, from my point of view, how do you break through this clutter, right? And, this kind of ties into the way the questions were asked about, like, how do you win over people when your team's not doing well? Or how do you break through the noise? Or how do you, get people to pay attention when technology is dragging them away? It begins with, there's 3 principles, I think, that you have to keep in mind. Number 1, you have to build something that's worth people's attention, right? That means give them something that's valuable, right? And valuable from their point of view, not yours, right? If we're talking about, let's say right now, it's a great time to be a Spurs fan. But let's say, if I was in London and you were in London at the same time and we wanted to go to the Spurs match, it wouldn't matter if the Spurs were awful. The value to us would be the fact that we get to go to the Spurs match together. And you should never lose sight of that. So the first thing is build something that's worth people's attention. The second thing is, as far as marketing and breaking through goes, is you got to be telling your story consistently, right? You can't just dive in every now and then with look at me, I need you to pay attention to this, I want you to do this, because that doesn't work. You have to do it consistently, right? You have to always be showing up. I mean, Lord knows I show up all the time. I'm constantly putting stuff out there into the world so people know what I'm working on and what I'm up to. But every brand has to be consistent in delivering their message. Some are loud and brash, right? And others are more subdued and quiet, right? The example from the Four Seasons and the Surf Club or Harrods, those aren't brands that are out there advertising that, but their marketing message is getting out through us because they invested in that customer service, and that's consistent, right? Because I'm sure that you and I aren't unique in those experiences that we've had at those properties, right? And that's that consistency in delivering that experience. That's marketing. That is full stop marketing. And then the third thing, which is the most important, is I think you always have to revisit the value you're offering your guests, and the people you want to serve, because what's valuable today may not be valuable tomorrow. And if you allow your value to erode, that's a marketing message as well. And that's one where it becomes easy for people to tune you out. So if you're always doing something to make people feel a little more special, a little more valued, a little more loved, they're going to remember that. And they're going to buy into that. And they're going to reward you with that. And that's kind of my take on breaking through.
No, I wholeheartedly agree with that. Wholeheartedly.
Well, I think that's a good place to leave too. leave the questions. How should we close this out? I've never done an AMA one before. Do we have anything else we want to promote, pump up, share? I want to point everybody to follow Simon on the Twitters at Simon Mabb. What else should we promote before we go? We have a platform, Simon.
I think we need to get as many people out to the event in Australia. I think it's a great opportunity to support that event, which is obviously a new event into Australia, into Sydney. Great chance to meet people, debate some stuff, share some ideas. I think it's a really good opportunity. So I would say get your tickets. The guys down there have done a fantastic job. We're really, really looking forward to getting down there and meeting people and having some great conversations. And like you said at the beginning, we're going to have a chat on the Wednesday night. We're going to organise something, so it'd be a great chance to meet some people and have a beer.
Yeah,
Amber Nectar, I think it is, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah, I believe that's right. I mean, they have a great beer, great wine, great food is what everybody keeps telling me. So I'm pretty excited. But
Yeah.
another thing, I mean, and it's good that you're promoting and talking about how excited you are, because I tell everybody pretty often, I go, both Simon and I are super excited because we've never been. We can't wait to get there. But yeah, make sure you buy your tickets at www.ticketingprofessionals.com.au. And I've been offering people, and I'm gonna throw it on you without even warning you. If they send us the receipt, we'll do something nice for them. It could be like a webinar. It could be it could be any kind of crazy cool thing. It could be a coaching call from one of us. It could be any kind of thing that we'll throw in because we're really excited. We want this event to be a success, and we really, really are excited to come visit Australia. Anything else we check out Simon at bookingprotect.com. We didn't even get a chance to talk about our 10 trends that are impacting the live entertainment industry, but I think this is like this one opens the door for many more podcasts. So
yeah, no, I think I've enjoyed that. It's always good to think about these things, and whenever we're looking at customer experiences or customer service or whatever, I think there's some great opportunities, and it would be good if people, this sparks any people's thoughts on further questions or anything that they want to put to us to talk about. Then that'd be great. Let's talk about some stuff.
Yeah, everybody should know that the fastest way to get us to answer questions is on Twitter.
Certainly is.
With Booking Protect CEO Simon Mabb. Let me know what you think by sending me an email at my name, dave@davewakeman.com. As always, you can find out what I'm up to by visiting my website. It's www.davewakeman.com, where you can find my blog, a list of clients, results, whatever you want to find out about me, it's going to be on my website. And that's www.davewakeman.com. As always, you can connect with me on social media. You can find me on Twitter, where I'm at David Wakeman. Like I've mentioned, however many podcasts we've been doing this here, if you know the person that has the @Dave Wakeman Twitter handle, I'd love it if you get it for me. The guy hasn't tweeted since 2014. I need it. It keeps me on brand. You can also hook up with me on LinkedIn. Just search my name, Dave Wakeman. If you like what I'm doing on the podcast, I'd love it if you could do me one favor. Share the podcast with just one person, a colleague, friend, someone you think would benefit from one of the conversations I've had here with people like Simon Mabb, Rob Mills, Lauren Teague, Kate Imrotkowski, Kat Spencer, or any of the other podcasts. Also, if you're a dedicated fan, I'd love it if you'd become a subscriber. We're on almost all of the podcast platforms now, if not all of them. I even found us on Luminary, which I thought was exciting because I was like, I'm a big I Am Rappaport fan. So I was on the same network as Michael Rappaport. It was great. But make sure you subscribe. And if you're so inclined, leave a review. These things help, and they make sure that I am encouraged to continue to deliver these great interviews and these great conversations so that you can learn from me and my guests. As always, I want to thank my friends at Booking Protect, the global leaders in refund protection, for being my partner in the podcast. To find out how you and your organization can partner with Booking Protect to give your customers a better buying experience, world-class customer service, and you and your organization can create a brand new stream of revenue for yourselves, visit them at www.bookingprotect.com. Once again, that's www.bookingprotect.com. Also, you just heard me talk to Simon Mabb. I just talked about Booking Protect. But get a chance to see us in person by coming to the Ticketing Professionals Conference of Australia in Sydney on the 14th and 15th of November. Simon and I both will be speaking. Simon's going to be talking about customer service, and I will be giving the opening keynote address on the courage to change. To get your tickets to the Ticketing Professionals Conference, visit their website. It's www.ticketingprofessionals.com.au. I'm going to give you that again. It's www.ticketingprofessionals.com.au. As an added bonus, just like you heard me and Simon mention a couple of minutes ago on the podcast, send me your receipt to dave@davewakeman.com, and I will do something special for you and your team. Like I've mentioned many times before, the more people you bring, the more exciting the gift is going to be. But do that. Buy your tickets, send me your receipt. Come see us in Sydney, Australia. It's going to be great. It's going to be a great time. A lot of learning, a lot of interesting people. It's going to be fantastic. Finally, if you like the podcast, you may very well like my newsletter. It's called The Business of Value. It comes out on Sundays, where I talk about marketing strategy and ways that you can create and capture for value for your customers and capture value for yourself. To get that newsletter, all you have to do is send me an email to dave@davewakeman.com. Put the subject line newsletter, so I make sure I add you to the right list, and I'll get you signed up. Again, that's the Business of Value newsletter. Send me an email, dave@davewakeman.com, and I'll get you hooked up. Finally, as always, I want to thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And until next time, take it easy. I'll see you soon.